Aisha Thornton stormed into Birmingham's humid courthouse, heels clicking. Late for a jaywalking ticket, she figured she'd squash in 10 minutes. Judge Vernon Caldwell, perched like a vulture, didn't let her speak. $500. For disrespect, he snapped, gavel cracking. Smirks rippled through the crowd. Aisha's eyes locked on his, unflinching. "I'm a federal prosecutor," she said, flashing her badge. His gavel froze, face paling, but venom sparked in his. Stare. She'd humiliated him, and he'd make her pay. A war was brewing. Could she survive his wrath? Before we unravel this clash, drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. If you stand for justice exposing truth, hit that like button. And subscribe, because tomorrow's episode will blow you away with another fight against the system. Don't miss it. Aisha Thornton's heels echoed on the courthouse steps as she shoved through Birmingham's muggy air, the sting of Judge Vernon Caldwell's fine still burning her gut. $500 for nothing slapped on her like a brand before she could even open her mouth. Her fingers tightened around her phone, replaying his smirk, that split second when his gavel hung mid-air after she'd flashed her badge. Federal prosecutor. Those words had wiped the smug off his face, but his eyes, narrowing like a snake's, promised trouble. She wasn't naive. Men like Caldwell didn't just swallow humiliation. They bit back. Hard. She slid into her sleek black sedan, the leather warm from the Alabama sun, and let out a slow breath. Her office was 20 minutes away, a glass tower downtown where she'd spent 8 years carving her name as assistant U.S. attorney. 24 major cases, from drug cartels to corporate fraud, and a Yale law degree framed on her wall. She wasn't some rookie he could bully, but this wasn't her usual battlefield. A jaywalking ticket should have been a blip, not a landmine. She'd come to court expecting a quick dismissal, armed with a time-stamped photo of the unmarked crosswalk, and a witness statement from a bodega clerk. Instead, she'd walked into a trap. The courthouse clerk's office was her first stop. She parked, straightened her navy blazer, and marched inside, the air conditioning a cold slap against her skin. The clerk, a wiry woman with a pinched face, looked up from her desk, eyes flicking over Aisha like she was just another annoyance. "Can I help you?" she asked, voice flat. "I'm filing a complaint against Judge Vernon Caldwell," Aisha said, sliding a typed form across the counter. She drafted it in her head on the drive over, every word sharp. Bias in sentencing, targeting based on race, failure to allow defense. "He fined me $500 without a hearing. I want it on record." The clerk's eyebrows twitched, but she took the form, stamping it with a thud. "It'll go to the judicial board. Takes a few weeks." Her tone said she didn't care if it took a century. Aisha nodded, her jaw tight. "Make sure it gets there." She turned on her heel, ignoring the clerk's half-hearted mutter about backlog. Outside, the sun was climbing, baking the asphalt. She felt eyes on her. Maybe paranoia, maybe not. Caldwell's frozen gavel kept flashing in her mind. That wasn't shock. It was rage. Back at her office, she kicked off her heels and sank into her chair, the city skyline sprawling beyond her. Window. Her desk was a fortress of case files, coffee mugs, and a photo of her son Malik, grinning at his last basketball game. 15 years old, all legs and dreams. She'd kept him out of this mess so far, but her stomach twisted at the thought of Caldwell's reach. Focus, she told herself. She powered up her laptop, pulling up Birmingham's court database. If Caldwell thought he could play dirty, she'd hit back with facts. Her fingers flew over the keys, digging into his rulings. Municipal court records weren't sexy. Traffic tickets, petty theft, noise complaints. But they told a story. She filtered for the past 3 years, cross-referencing fines by defendant demographics. Numbers didn't lie. Black defendants were slammed with penalties 10 times harsher than white ones for the same infractions. A black woman got $750 for a broken taillight. A white guy got a warning for the same. A black teen spent 3 days in jail for loitering. His white buddy got a nod and a go-home. Case after case, the pattern screamed, Caldwell wasn't just strict, he was hunting. Aisha leaned back, pulse quickening. This was gold. She printed the data, pages stacking like bricks in a wall. She'd build to bury him. Her complaint wasn't just about her anymore. It was about every name on those lists, every person he'd crushed under his gavel. She emailed a summary to her deputy, Marcus Tate, with a note. "Look at this. We've got a case." Marcus was her rock, a grizzled ex-cop turned lawyer who'd seen Birmingham's underbelly up close. If anyone could help her nail Caldwell, it was him. She stood, stretching, feeling the first spark of control since the courtroom. The fine was paid. She'd wired it from her phone to avoid giving Caldwell another excuse, but the fight was just starting. She imagined his face when the judicial board called him in, his folksy drawl cracking under scrutiny. Men like him thought they were untouchable, perched in their robes like kings. Not this time. She grabbed her water bottle, took a swig, and let herself smile. She had him. Then her phone buzzed. Not a text, a news alert. She tapped it and her stomach dropped. A local blog, Birmingham Beacon, had a screaming headline, "Federal Prosecutor Plays Race Card to Dodge Fine." The article was venom, twisting her complaint into a tantrum, painting her as an elitist bully who weaponized her title to humiliate a respected judge. Quotes from anonymous sources called her divisive, unprofessional, a threat to justice. Her photo was plastered at the top, taken from her DOJ profile, all polish and poise, now captioned like she was a criminal. Aisha's breath caught. How did they know? She'd filed the complaint 2 hours ago and the clerk's stamp was barely dry. Someone had talked, someone with access. Her mind raced to the clerk's bored stare, Caldwell's snake eyes. This wasn't a leak, it was a blade, and it was aimed at her throat. She scrolled the comments, vile, predictable slurs mixed with calls to fire her. Her fingers shook as she dialed Marcus. "Tell me you saw this," she said when he picked up. "Reading it now," Marcus growled. "It's a hatchet job, you okay?" "No," she admitted, voice low. "This wasn't random, he's behind it." "Caldwell, he's a judge, not a mob boss." "Same thing in this town," she snapped. "I need to know who tipped them." Marcus paused, and she could hear him thinking, weighing her odds. "I'll poke around, but Aisha, watch your back. If he's swinging this fast, he's not playing nice." She hung up, staring at the screen. The blog's lies were spreading. Twitter was picking it up. Hashtags like "Fire Aisha" trending in Birmingham's corner of the internet. Her chest tightened. Not with fear, but with fury. She'd underestimated him. Caldwell wasn't just a bigot with a gavel, he was connected and he was coming for her. Across town, Vernon Caldwell sat in a dimly lit steakhouse, the kind where deals were cut over whiskey and ribeye. His suit jacket hung on the chair, tie loosened, but his posture was rigid, fingers drumming the table. The blog post had been his idea, well, his nudge. A quick call to a friend at the Beacon, a few choice words about protecting the court's honor, and the story wrote itself. He hadn't expected it to spread this fast, though. Good. Let her squirm. His phone vibrated, and he glanced at the screen. Councilman Ed Hargrove, one of Birmingham's old guard, a man who owed Caldwell favors from way back. "You see the news?" Hargrove's voice was all gravel and glee. "She's done." "Not yet," Caldwell said, sipping his bourbon. "She's stubborn, need to hit harder." Hargrove chuckled. "What's the plan, Vern?" Caldwell's eyes gleamed. "Make her untouchable. Nobody trusts a prosecutor who's dirty." He hung up, leaning back as the waiter slid a plate in front of him. Aisha thought she could shame him, drag his name through her fancy complaint. She didn't know Birmingham like he did. This was his city, his daddy's before him, his granddaddy's before that. Thornton's didn't belong in his courtroom, and he'd make sure she learned it. Back at her office, Aisha's phone buzzed again. Marcus this time, his voice tight. "You sitting down?" "What now?" she asked, bracing. "Got a tip from a DOJ buddy. Your case files, everything you've touched the last 2 years, they're being audited. Full review, top down." Her blood went cold. An audit wasn't just paperwork. It was a career killer, a slow bleed of whispers and doubt. Every plea deal, every witness she'd leaned on, every late-night call, dissected, twisted, used to paint her as sloppy or worse. She gripped the desk, the room tilting. "Who ordered it?" "Doesn't matter," Marcus said. "It's happening, and it's not random." "Caldwell." She didn't need to say it. His fine was a jab. This was a haymaker. She'd thought her complaint would corner him, force him to back off. Instead, he'd turned her own weapon against her, and now the ground was slipping. She glanced at Malik's photo, his smile a lifeline. She wasn't done yet, but as she shut her laptop, the Hi blog's headline burned in her mind. This wasn't just a fight, it was a siege, and Caldwell was bringing an army. Aisha Thornton's apartment was a fortress of takeout cartons and case files, the Birmingham skyline glowing beyond her window like a taunt. The blog post's poison still lingered. Federal prosecutor plays race card, its lies clawing at her. Name. Her phone hadn't stopped buzzing since Marcus dropped the audit bomb, each notification a jab to her gut. A DOJ review could end her, turn 8 years of grinding into a footnote. But Aisha wasn't built to fold. Caldwell's smirk from the courtroom flashed in her mind, fueling her. If he wanted a war, she'd bring one. She sipped cold coffee, eyes locked on her laptop. The court data she'd pulled yesterday was a goldmine. Caldwell's fines hit black defendants like a sledgehammer, 10 times harsher than white ones. It was proof, hard and cold. But proof wasn't enough. She needed allies, someone with pull, to shove her complaint past the clerk's dusty desk and into the judicial board's lap. Her mind landed on Councilwoman Lena Brooks, a Birmingham rising star who'd campaigned on reform. Lena's speeches about cleaning up the courts had gone viral last year, her sharp suits and sharper words cutting through the city's old boy network. If anyone could help, it was her. Aisha fired off an email attaching her data and a plea for a meeting. Lena replied in 10 minutes. Coffee shop on 5th, 2 p.m. Bring everything. Aisha's pulse ticked up. This could work. She showered, swapped her sweats for a crisp blouse and slacks, and grabbed her folder of printouts. Malik was at basketball practice, safe for now, but she'd texted him to stay at his aunt's tonight. Caldwell's audit move screamed power, and power didn't play fair. She wasn't taking chances. The coffee shop was a hipster cave, exposed brick, overpriced lattes, and baristas with too many piercings. Lena was already there, scrolling her phone at a corner table, her auburn curls catching the light. She looked up as Aisha approached, offering a warm smile that felt like a lifeline. Aisha Thornton, Lena said, standing to shake her hand. Heard you stirred up some trouble. Trouble found me, Aisha replied, sliding into the seat. She laid out her case like a poker hand, the courtroom fine, the blog smear, the audit threat, and the data. Pages of numbers screaming Caldwell's bias. Lena's eyes narrowed as she flipped through, her manicured nails tapping the table. This is ugly, Lena said, voice low. Caldwell's been untouchable too long. I'll push for an ethics review, get the council to back it. But we need more voices, not just stats. Aisha nodded, heart lifting. I can get those. Defendants he's screwed over. They'll talk if they know someone's listening. Lena leaned in, eyes fierce. Then do it. I've got your back. For the first time in days, Aisha felt the ground steady. She left the shop with a plan, her steps lighter. Back home, she hit the phones, tracking down names from her court records. A mechanic fined $1,000 for a noise complaint. His white neighbor got a warning for the same. A nurse jailed overnight for disrespect, after asking for a reschedule. A kid, barely 18, hit with community service for jaywalking while his white friend skated. Their stories poured in, raw and jagged, each one a brick in her case. She typed affidavits late into the night, her living room a war zone of highlighters. Hand sticky notes. Malik called, voice sleepy but proud. You got this, Mom. She smiled, believing it. By morning she had 12 sworn statements, each detailing Caldwell's gavel slamming down on black lives. She emailed them to Lena, CCing Marcus with a note. This is it. Let's move. Lena called an hour later, voice buzzing. These are dynamite. I'm meeting the council tomorrow. Your name's on the agenda. Caldwell's done. Aisha's chest swelled. Done. She pictured him squirming, his robe no match for her truth. She spent the day prepping, polishing her complaint into a blade. The audit loomed, but with Lena's pull she could outrun it. She was winning. She could taste it. Then her phone pinged, a text from Marcus. Check Twitter. Now. Her stomach twisted as she opened the app. A video was trending, tagged Aisha Thornton Lies. She tapped play, and her breath stopped. It was her at the coffee shop, leaning toward Lena, voice clipped. Caldwell's finished. I'll make sure of it. The clip cut to her saying, "I don't care who gets hurt." Words she'd never said spliced from nothing. The caption read, "Federal prosecutor threatens councilwoman in power grab." Her hands shook. The video was everywhere. Thousands of retweets, comments calling her a thug, a liar, worse. Her inbox flooded with hate mail, slurs piling up like garbage. She called Lena, but it went to voicemail. Marcus picked up instead, voice grim. "It's fake, but it's good. Whoever did this knows their stuff." "Caldwell," she spat, pacing. "He's behind it." "Maybe," Marcus said. "But check your office." She grabbed her keys, racing to the tower downtown. Her office was a crime scene. Lock-picked, drawers yanked open, her folder of affidavits gone. Not a page left. Her laptop was untouched, mocking her with its useless screen. She sank to the floor, head spinning. 12 voices silenced, her proof vanished. The video wasn't just a smear. It was a cover, a distraction while Caldwell's people gutted her work. Her phone buzzed again. An email from Lena. No subject, just a link to a news site. Aisha clicked, and her heart sank. Councilwoman Brooks denounces Thornton's threats, severs ties. The article quoted Lena. "I trusted Aisha, but her aggression shocked me. She's not who I thought." Aggression. The word hit like a slap, coded and cruel, painting Aisha as the angry black woman everyone feared. She scrolled, numb, until a photo stopped her cold. Lena and Caldwell at a fundraiser, arms linked, smiling like family. Family. She dug into Lena's bio, fingers flying. Public records didn't lie. Lena Brooks, maiden name Caldwell. His cousin. Aisha's stomach churned. She'd walked into a trap, handed her case to the enemy. Lena hadn't just betrayed her. She'd fed Caldwell every move, every affidavit, every hope. The video, the theft, the lies, it was all them, a machine built to crush her. Across town, Vernon Caldwell sat in a private club, all mahogany and cigar smoke, clinking glasses with a banker who'd owed him since the 90s. The video had been his idea, whispered to a tech guy who didn't ask questions. Lena's shock was scripted, her loyalty never in doubt. Blood ran thick in Birmingham, and Aisha was bleeding. He swirled his scotch, grinning. "She thought she'd outsmart me," he said, voice low. "Girl doesn't know her place." The banker laughed, but Caldwell's mind was already spinning. The affidavits were ash by now, burned in his backyard pit. The video was just the start. He'd hit her harder next. Her job, her kid, her name. She'd learn what happened when you crossed a king. Aisha stood in her wrecked office, fists clenched. Lena's face burned in her mind, that warm smile a lie from the jump. The audit was closing in, the video shredding her name, and now her evidence was dust. She'd thought she had Caldwell pinned, thought Lena was her ticket to justice. Instead, she was alone, exposed, her allies shrinking to shadows. But giving up wasn't in her blood. She grabbed her phone, dialing Marcus. "I need you to find someone," she said, voice steel. "Lena's dirty. I'm taking her down." She hung, up staring at the city lights. Caldwell and Lena thought they'd broken her. They'd learn. She'd lost her proof, her trust, her ground, but not her fight. The war was just getting hot. Drop a comment with number 1 if you're raging at Lena's double cross. How low? Can she go? If you're rooting for Aisha to hit back, smash that like button and subscribe to catch every twist in this fight for justice. Can Aisha claw her way out of this betrayal, or will Caldwell's next move bury her for good? Aisha Thornton's office felt like a tomb, the air heavy with the ghost of Lena Brooks's betrayal. Her desk, once a command center, was a mess of scattered papers, all that remained after the affidavit theft. The viral video's lies still echoed, her own voice twisted to call her a bully, a threat. Lena's face, smiling beside Caldwell in that old fundraiser photo, burned in her mind. Cousins. The word was acid. She'd trusted Lena, handed her 12 voices from Birmingham's shadows, and now they were ash, burned by a judge who played king. But Aisha wasn't done, not even close. Her phone buzzed, Marcus, her deputy, checking in. "You holding up?" he asked, voice rough with worry. "Barely," she admitted, pacing. "Lena played me. Caldwell's got her on a leash, Marcus cursed. We need something big, Aisha. The audit's closing in. She stopped, staring at the city skyline, its lights mocking her. Big. She needed a nuke, something to blow Caldwell's empire wide open. Her complaint was dead without proof. The video had poisoned her name, and the DOJ audit was a noose tightening by the day. But Lena wasn't perfect. Nobody was. Aisha's years as a prosecutor had taught her one thing: power. Left footprints. She just had to find them. She sat, cracking her knuckles, and called her intern Jamal, a 20-year-old tech whiz who'd once hacked a cartel's burner phones for her on a case. "I need you at my place." "Now," she said. "Bring your laptop. And that shady software you don't tell me about." Jamal arrived in 30 minutes, his hoodie damp from Birmingham's evening drizzle. He sat up on her couch, eyes wide as she laid it out. Lena's double cross, Caldwell's smirk, the stolen affidavits. "I want into Lena's email," Aisha said, voice low. "She's hiding something. Find it." Jamal hesitated, fingers hovering over his keys. "That's not exactly legal, boss." "Neither's framing me," she snapped. "You in or out?" He nodded, diving in. Aisha watched, heart pounding, as lines of code scrolled across his screen. Her apartment was silent, except for the hum of his laptop and her own shallow breaths. This was a line she'd never crossed. Hacking, breaking rules she'd sworn to uphold, but Caldwell didn't play by rules, neither could she. 2 hours later, Jamal leaned back, grinning. "Got her." He turned the screen. Lena's private. Email cracked open like a safe. Aisha scanned the inbox, her pulse racing. Most of it was mundane, council memos, donor thank yous, but one thread caught her eye, labeled Vern Fund. She clicked, and her breath caught. Messages between Lena and a bank exec, detailing wire transfers, $50,000 here, $20,000 there, funneled to a PAC tied to Caldwell's last judicial campaign. Dates, amounts, even a winking note from Lena. "Keep it quiet." Cousin Aisha's fists clenched. This was it. Bribery plain as day. Caldwell hadn't just leaned on family loyalty. He'd bought it, rigging his bench with dirty money. She saved the emails, every damning word, and looked at Jamal. "You're a genius," he shrugged, but his grin faded. "What now? You can't exactly walk into court with this." He was right. The hack was poison fruit, illegal, inadmissible. She needed a clean way to use it, someone to amplify the truth without her fingerprints. Her mind landed on Priya Shah, a reporter at the Birmingham Pulse, a scrappy outlet that loved sticking it to the city's elite. Priya had interviewed Aisha once, back when she'd busted a local CEO for fraud. She was fearless, hungry, and owed Aisha a favor. Aisha crafted an anonymous tip, attaching the emails with a burner account Jamal set up. "Look into Councilwoman Brooks and Judge Caldwell. Follow the money." She hit send, her stomach knotting. If this worked, Lena and Caldwell were toast. If it backfired, she was digging her own grave. She leaned back, staring at the ceiling. For the first time in days, she felt a spark of hope. She was striking back. The next morning, the Pulse dropped the story like a bomb. "Councilwoman implicated." In judicial bribery scandal, screamed the headline, naming Lena and Caldwell with screenshots of the emails, redacted just enough to hide Aisha's tracks. Twitter lit up, hashtags like "What Birmingham bribes" trending by noon. Aisha watched from her office, coffee forgotten, as Lena's polished headshot flashed on news sites. The article didn't mention her, but it didn't have to. She'd done it. She'd cracked their armor. Her phone rang. Marcus, laughing. "You see this? They're scrambling. Lena's dodging cameras like a roach." Aisha smiled, but it was tight. Too easy. Caldwell's not this sloppy. She was right. By evening, the tide turned. A press conference aired live, Caldwell front and center in his courthouse lobby, his grey suit crisp, his drawl steady. "These accusations are a disgrace," he said, eyes mournful for the cameras. "A desperate attempt to smear my record. I've served this city 30 years, and I'd never touch a dime of dirty money." He paused, voice hardening. "The real story is, who's behind this? Aisha Thornton, a prosecutor under DOJ scrutiny, fabricated these lies to save her own skin. Aisha's TV screen froze her blood. Her name, spat like a curse, was trending again. Thornton fraud, now neck and neck with loud Birmingham bribes. Commentators piled on, calling her a rogue lawyer, a con artist. Her inbox pinged with a DOJ notice, official and cold. Immediate investigation opened for misconduct and falsification of evidence. Report Monday. Her hands shook. Misconduct. They weren't just auditing her cases, they were gunning for her. Badge. She stood, pacing, when her phone buzzed again. A text, unknown number, check your window. Her heart stopped. She crept to her apartment's glass, peering into the dusk. Nothing. Then a crash exploded below. A brick, jagged and red, smashed. Through her living room pane, skidding across the floor. Glass sparkled like teeth. Taped to the brick was a note, scrawled in black. Back off or worse. Aisha's breath hitched. She grabbed her phone, dialing Marcus, but her eyes stayed on the note. Worse. The word wasn't a threat. It was a promise. She sank to the couch, glass crunching under her shoes. The Pulse story was supposed to be her checkmate, her way to flip the board. Instead, Caldwell had spun it, turned her strike into a noose. The DOJ probe wasn't just a career hit, it was a death sentence for her credibility. And the brick, that was personal. Across town, Vernon Caldwell stood on his estate's balcony, the city's glow a crown at his feet. His mansion was old money, columns, oaks, a gate that screamed power. He lit a cigar, the smoke curling like his thoughts. The press conference had been a gamble, but it paid off. Lena was shaken, sure, but she'd stay loyal. Family didn't. Break the emails? A hiccup. He'd called in a favor, got a fixer to muddy the trail. Aisha, though, she was a problem, smart, stubborn, dangerous. He dialed a number, voice low. She's still digging, he said when the fixer picked up. Time to tighten the screws. Want her scared? The man asked, accent thick. Scared's a start, Caldwell said, but I want her gone. He hung up, puffing his cigar. The brick was step one, a warning shot to rattle her cage. Aisha thought she could leak her way to victory, thought a few emails would topple him. She didn't know his game. Birmingham was his board, and he moved pieces she couldn't see. Her apartment was just the beginning. He'd hit her job next, her family, her soul. By the time he was done, she'd wish she'd never stepped into his courtroom. Aisha sat on her couch, the note in her lap, its words a pulse in her skull. Back off, or worse. The DOJ notice glowed on her phone, a countdown to Monday. Her hack had backfired. Her name was trash, and now her home wasn't safe. She'd thought she could outsmart Caldwell, thought Priya's story would break him. Instead, he'd turned her truth into a lie, her fight into a target. Glass crunched as she stood, her eyes hard. He wanted her scared. She was furious. Caldwell had taken her proof, her trust, her ground, but he wouldn't take her, not yet. Aisha Thornton stood frozen in her shattered living room, the brick's jagged edges glinting under the lamplight. Glass littered the floor like broken promises, and the note, back off or worse, felt heavier than the rock it came with. Her phone still glowed with the DOJ notice, a guillotine blade labeled misconduct investigation. Caldwell's press conference had twisted her leak into a lie, painting her as a fraud while Birmingham ate it up. She'd thought the Pulse story would crack him open. Instead, he'd turned her home into a target and her career into a minefield. Her hands shook, not from fear but from a fury so deep it burned her bones. She swept the glass into a pile, each scrape a vow. Caldwell wasn't just coming for her, he was clawing at everything she'd built. Her son, Malik, was her line in. The sand. 15, all heart and hustle, he was at his Aunt Keisha's place across town, safe from this mess. Or so she'd thought. The note's worse wasn't abstract anymore. It was a promise, and Caldwell kept those. She grabbed her keys, dialed Keisha, and didn't wait for a hello. Pack a bag for Malik, she said, voice clipped. I'm moving him tonight. Keisha's voice was all worry. Aisha, what's going on? He's fine here. Not anymore, she said, locking her door. I'll explain when I get there. The drive to Keisha's was a blur, Birmingham's neon signs streaking past like warnings. Her sedan hummed, but her mind screamed. The brick was a message, But the DOJ probe was a death sentence. Her cases, her wins, her name, all dissected. For falsification. Caldwell hadn't just spun her leak, he'd weaponized it, turned her truth into a trap. She gripped the wheel, picturing his estate, all columns and smug money. He thought he'd scared her silent. He didn't know her at all. Keisha's duplex was in a quiet corner of Ensley, porch light buzzing with moths. Malik was sprawled on the couch, sneakers dangling, scrolling his phone when Aisha burst in. He sat up, eyes wide. "Mom, you good?" She forced a smile, hating the lie. "Yeah, baby. But you're staying somewhere else for a bit. Safer spot." He frowned, reading her like always. "This about that judge? The one you pissed off?" Keisha shushed him, but Aisha knelt, meeting his gaze. "It's about keeping you out of it. Pack your stuff." Malik nodded, grabbing his backpack, but his jaw was tight. He wasn't dumb. He'd seen the headlines, heard the whispers. Aisha's heart twisted as she watched him stuff jerseys and chargers into his bag. He was her why, her fight. And now Caldwell's shadow was creeping toward him. She hugged Keisha, whispering, "I'll call tomorrow. Keep your phone on." They drove to a friend's house in Vestavia Hills, a suburb far from Caldwell's reach, or so she hoped. Tanya, an old law school buddy, welcomed Malik with a grin and a promise of pizza. Aisha lingered on the porch, watching him settle in, his laugh a rare spark in her storm. She kissed his forehead, memorizing his face. "Stay sharp." "Okay, I love you." "Love you too," he mumbled, already distracted by Tanya's dog. She drove away, chest tight, believing she'd bought him time. Back downtown, Aisha needed a lifeline. The DOJ probe was Monday, 3 days away, and her office was a dead end. Files gone, trust shot. She called Elena Ruiz, a DOJ contact from a cartel case 2 years back. Elena was mid-level, clean, and owed Aisha for a tip that got her promoted. They met at a diner off I-65, all chrome and grease, the kind of place nobody looked twice. Elena slid into the booth, her dark ponytail swinging. "You're in deep," she said, skipping pleasantries. "Talk." Aisha laid it out, her fine. The blog smear, Lena's betrayal, the brick. She slid a USB across the table, loaded with her court data and the hacked emails, scrubbed of Jamal's fingerprints. "Caldwell's dirty," she said. "Bribes, bias, now he's framing me. I need this in front of someone who'll listen." Elena's eyes flicked to the USB, then back. "This is heavy, Aisha. If it's real, it's a career maker. If it's not, you're done." "It's real," Aisha said, voice steel. "Run it up the chain." Elena pocketed the USB, nodding. "I'll try. No promises." Aisha left the diner feeling lighter, like she'd tossed a rope across a chasm. Elena wasn't a sure thing, but she was a shot. Back home, she boarded. Up her window with plywood, the hammer's thud a rhythm to her thoughts. She'd moved Malik, secured her proof, and now Eleanor was her ace. Caldwell was scrambling. His press conference proved it. She could still win this. She crawled into bed, exhausted but hopeful, the first real sleep she'd chased in days. Then her phone rang at 6 a.m., shattering the quiet. Keisha, voice shaking. "Aisha, it's Malik. His school called. They suspended him." Aisha sat, up cold sweat prickling her skin. "For what?" "Gang activity," Keisha said, choking on the words. "Some photo of him throwing signs. It's not him, Aisha. You know it's not." Her heart stopped. Malik, her straight-A kid who lived for basketball and bad puns, tagged as a thug. She threw on clothes, racing to Vestavia High. The principal, a thin white guy with a nervous tic, showed her the evidence. A grainy photo. Malik's face clear, hands twisted in a supposed gang signal. It was fake, photoshopped so badly she could see the seams, but the principal shrugged. "We have a zero-tolerance policy. He's out for a month." Aisha's voice was ice. "This is a lie. Who sent it?" "Anonymous tip," he said, avoiding. Her eyes. "We acted on good faith," she stormed out, Malik trailing, his shoulders slumped. "I didn't do it, Mom," he said, voice cracking. "I swear." "I know," she said, pulling him close. Her mind screamed Caldwell. This wasn't random, it was surgical, hitting her where it hurt most. She drove him back to Tanya's, promising to fix it, but her phone buzzed again. "Eleanor." She answered, bracing. I pitched your stuff, Elena said, voice flat. No traction. My boss says it's too hot right now. I'm sorry. Aisha's hope crumbled. Too hot? Elena, they're framing me. I know, Elena said. But my hands are tied. She hung up and Aisha gripped the wheel, knuckles white. Eleanor was out, her USB dead weight. Malik's suspension was a wound, bleeding her dry. She pulled into Tanya's driveway, forcing a smile for her son, but her mind was reeling. Caldwell wasn't just fighting, he was hunting, and her family was prey. Then she smelled smoke. Her head snapped up, eyes locking on Keisha's duplex across town. She'd gotten a text from her sister asking her to swing by. She floored it, Malik safe with Tanya, and reached Ensley in 15 minutes. The duplex was a torch, flames licking the roof, black smoke choking the sky. Fire trucks wailed, neighbors gawked, and Keisha stood on the lawn, sobbing. It's gone, she whispered. My car, everything. Aisha hugged her, scanning the crowd. No note this time, but she didn't need one. The fire was Caldwell's signature, bigger than the brick. A scream that said he'd burn her world to ash. She called Marcus, voice shaking. He hit Keisha's place, Malik's school. He's not stopping. Marcus cursed. Get somewhere. Safe? I'll dig into the photo. She nodded, but safe felt like a lie. Across town, Vernon Caldwell worked the room at a police fundraiser, all smiles and handshakes, his suit crisp as his plan. He leaned into the police chief, a burly man who'd grown up on his daddy's land. That Thornton woman's trouble, he murmured, stirring up chaos. Need to keep a tight leash. The chief nodded, eyes hard. We'll handle it. Caldwell sipped his wine, savoring the burn. The school photo was his fixer's work, a cheap trick that hit like a missile. The fire? A bonus, a spark to remind Aisha who ran Birmingham. She'd moved her kid, thought she could hide. She couldn't. He'd hit her again, harder, until she broke. Or vanished. Aisha stood with Keisha, the fire's heat on her face, her sister's sobs in her ears. Malik's suspension, Elena's ghosting, now this. Her world was unraveling. She'd thought moving her son would protect him, thought Elena would carry her fight. Instead, Caldwell had struck her heart, her family, her hope. Her fists clenched, nails biting her palms. He wanted her to quit. She'd make him bleed for it. Drop a comment with #1 if you're furious at Caldwell targeting Malik. How dare he drag a kid into this? If you're screaming for Aisha to fight back, hit that like button and subscribe to see her next move against this monster. Will Aisha find a way to shield her family, or is Caldwell's next strike already closing in? Aisha Thornton's hands trembled as she stood on Keisha's scorched lawn, the fire's stench clinging to her clothes. Her sister's duplex was a skeleton, windows blown out, roof caving like a broken promise. Malik's suspension still burned. In her gut, her kid, her heart, branded a gang member by a doctored photo. Elena's silence was a fresh wound, her DOJ pitch dead before it started. Caldwell wasn't just winning, he was dismantling her life, piece by piece. The brick, the probe, now this fire. His message was clear, nowhere was safe, but Aisha wasn't built to cower. She hugged Keisha, whispering, "I'll fix this," and drove off, fury drowning her fear. Birmingham's streets blurred past, neon signs mocking her with their calm. She called Marcus from the car, voice tight. Malik's school, Keisha's place. Caldwell's not playing anymore. He's escalating, Marcus said, grim. You got a plan? Yeah, she said, gripping the wheel. Go loud. She'd tried quiet. Complaints, emails, backroom deals. All it got her was a trashed office, a fake video, and a burning home. Caldwell thrived in shadows, pulling strings nobody saw. She'd drag him into the light, make Birmingham watch. City Hall was meeting tonight, a budget session packed with council members, press, and locals. Perfect stage. She'd crash it, lay out his crimes for the world. No more hiding. She swung by her apartment, dodging the plywood-covered window, and grabbed her laptop. The court data was still there. Pages of fines, jail time, black lives crushed under Caldwell's gavel. She added Lena's hacked emails, scrubbed clean, and a list of the stolen affidavits' names. It wasn't proof anymore, it was a story, raw and undeniable. She booked a projector from a friend at the library, her hands moving on autopilot. Malik was safe at Tanya's, Keisha at a motel. This was her shot, maybe her last. City Hall loomed downtown, all marble and arrogance, its steps crawling with suits and protesters by 7 p.m. Aisha slipped in, blazer sharp, projector tucked under her arm. The council chamber was a circus, reporters. In the back, locals waving signs about taxes, council members droning at a long table. Lena was there, avoiding eyes, her curls pinned tight like her lies. Aisha's stomach twisted, but she pushed it down. No distractions. She waited in the gallery, heart pounding, until the public comment slot opened. The clerk called names. None. Hers. She hadn't signed up. Screw it. She stood, striding to the podium, ignoring the clerk's sputter. "My name's Aisha Thornton," she said, voice cutting the room like a blade. Heads turned, phones lifted. "I'm here to talk about Judge Vernon Caldwell." The chamber went quiet, then buzzed. Lena's head snapped up, eyes wide. Aisha plugged in the projector, her data flashing on the wall. Charts of fines, black. Verses white, stark as blood. "This is his record," she said, pointing. 10 times harsher on black defendants. Tickets, loitering, noise, doesn't matter. He picks a target and it's always us. Murmurs grew, some angry, some shocked. She clicked to Lena's emails, dates and dollars glowing. "He bought his bench with bribes, funneled through..." "His cousin Lena Brooks," gasps echoed. A woman in the back clapped, then another. Reporters scribbled, cameras rolled. Aisha's voice rose, steady but fierce. "He fined me for nothing, smeared my name, burned my sister's home. This isn't justice. It's a machine and it's crushing us all." The crowd roared, feet stomping, signs waving. Lena shrank in her seat, face pale. Aisha felt it. Control, power, truth. They were listening. She was winning. Then it broke. A man in a red cap stood, shouting, "Liar, you're the problem." Another joined, then 3 more, their voices a chorus of slurs. The crowd split. Some cheered Aisha, others screamed back, fists clenched. A chair tipped, then a table. Someone threw a water bottle, plastic cracking against the wall. The chamber turned to chaos, bodies shoving, signs snapping. Aisha unplugged her projector, stepping back, but the roar drowned her. Security rushed. In batons raised as reporters ducked for cover. She slipped toward the exit, heart racing, when a cop grabbed her arm. "You're coming with us," he growled, cuffs flashing. She didn't fight, cameras were still rolling. They dragged her to a side room, the council chamber a riot behind her. "Inciting violence," the cop said, snapping the cuffs tight. "You're under arrest." Aisha's jaw clenched. "I didn't throw a punch." "Don't need to," he said, smirking. "You started it." They booked her downtown. Fingerprints, mugshot, the works. Her one call went to Marcus, who cursed loud enough to wake the block. "I'm on it," he said. "Sit tight." Bail came fast. Marcus pulled strings. But it was midnight when... She walked out, free but bruised. Her phone was dead, her projector gone. She took a cab home, expecting quiet. Instead, her apartment was a war zone. Door kicked in, couch slashed, files shredded like confetti. Her laptop was smashed, screen cracked into a spiderweb. Nothing stolen, just destroyed. She sank to the floor, glass from the old brick still. Crunching under her. The riot, the arrest. Now this. She'd stood up, screamed Caldwell's truth to the world, and thought the crowd's cheers meant victory. Instead, he'd turned her voice into a crime, her home into rubble. Her eyes burned, not with tears but rage. He wasn't just fighting, he was erasing her. Across town, Vernon Caldwell sipped bourbon in his study, the estate's oak walls soaking up the quiet. City Hall was all over the news. Riot erupts at council meeting, prosecutor blamed. He chuckled, swirling his glass. Aisha's stunt had been bold, he'd give her that. Charts, emails, big talk, but he'd seen it coming. Lena had tipped him the second Aisha emailed her days ago. He'd packed the crowd with his people, red cap guy, the shouters, all paid to flip the script. The cop? A favor from the chief, called in over cigars. He leaned back, boots on his desk. The riot was perfect, her words drowned in chaos, her name tied to violence. The arrest was icing, a little gift to make her sweat. Trashing her place, That was personal, his fixer's touch. She'd thought she could shame him, rally the city like some hero. Birmingham didn't work that way. His city, his rules, his. Phone lit up, a text from a guy who didn't leave names. Need me to dig deeper? Caldwell's fingers paused. Aisha was tough, smarter than he'd expected. Those charts meant she had backups, maybe more emails. He needed her weak, not just mad. Her past, her kid, her secrets, something to break her for good. He dialed, voice low. Find me everything. Family, cases, dirt. She's got a weak spot. On it, the guy said and hung up. Caldwell stood pacing to the window. The city glittered, his kingdom, but Aisha was a thorn he couldn't pull. The news called her a troublemaker now, but troublemakers had fans. Her speech was online, clips spreading despite the riot. He'd crushed her tonight. Arrest, wreck, shame. But she wasn't gone. Not yet. He poured another bourbon, plotting. Her kid was out there, her sister too. He'd find them, twist the knife. She'd learn what defiance cost. Aisha sat in her ruined apartment, the air cold through the broken door. Her hands traced a shredded file, names she'd sworn to protect, now dust. The council chamber's cheers rang in her ears, a cruel joke. She'd thought she'd moved the city, thought her truth would burn Caldwell down. Instead, he'd turned, her stand into a riot, her freedom into cuffs, her home into a warning. The DOJ probe loomed. Malik's suspension stung. Keisha's loss ached. She was bleeding, cornered, alone. But her eyes hardened, glinting in the dark. Caldwell wanted a victim. He'd get a fight. Aisha Thornton's apartment was a battlefield. Shredded files scattered like fallen soldiers, her broken laptop a tombstone in the corner. The night's chaos clung to her. City Hall's cheers turning to screams, cuffs biting her wrists, her door splintered by Caldwell's goons. Birmingham's pulse thumped outside, mocking her with its calm, but inside she was a furnace. Caldwell had turned her truth into a riot, her home into a warning, her name into mud. Malik's suspension and Keisha's burned duplex were open. Wounds and the DOJ probe loomed like a storm cloud, 3 days away. She thought she could break him. Instead, he was breaking her. She swept debris into a pile, each scrape fueling her. Giving up wasn't an option. Malik's face, Keisha's sobs, the 12 affidavit voices she'd lost. They demanded she fight. Caldwell wasn't untouchable. He was human, sloppy somewhere. Her City Hall stunt had failed, but it proved one thing. He was scared. Why else send thugs to gut her place? She needed a new angle, something he couldn't spin. Her mind snagged on his fixer, the shadow behind the brick, the fire, the video. Whoever they were, they had dirt, maybe enough to bury him. She grabbed her burner phone, a cheap flip from a gas station, and called Jamal, her tech intern. "Need you to trace something," she said when he picked up, voice low. "The guys who hit my place, they're tied to Caldwell. Follow the money." Jamal yawned, then caught her tone. "Serious?" "Deadly," she said. "Start with his campaign, quietly." She hung up, pacing. Her real phone buzzed. Marcus, checking. "Says, you alive?" he asked, half joking. "Barely," she said, glancing at the splintered door. "City Hall was a bust. He's got the cops in his pocket." "Figured," Marcus said. "DOJ's whispering suspension. You got a move?" "Working on it," she lied, hating how thin her hope felt. She ended the call, sinking onto the couch. Her eyes landed on a photo, half torn. Her and Malik at his first game, his grin wide as the court. She clutched it, grounding herself. Caldwell wanted her. Weak, she'd be his nightmare. Jamal texted at dawn, a single line, found a thread. "Firm called Apex. Check your email." Aisha powered up her backup tablet, heart ticking. Jamal's file was gold, bank records, shell companies, all linking Apex Consulting to Caldwell's campaign. Apex wasn't just a donor. It was a machine, funneling cash for favors, rigging cases. She scrolled, pulse racing, until a name stopped her cold. Thornton Aisha. A sealed juvenile case, shoplifting, from when she was 16. Expunged at 18, buried so deep even she'd forgotten it. Apex had it, flagged for leverage. Her stomach dropped. She'd swiped a candy bar on a dare, a dumb kid move, caught and released with a warning. Yale had never seen it, the DOJ either. But Caldwell's fixer had, and now it was a loaded gun. She called Jamal, voice shaking. "How'd they get this?" "Dunno," he said. "Dark web, maybe. I'm wiping it now." "Do it," she said, but her mind raced. Expunged records didn't just leak. They were hunted. She spent the day scrubbing her past, calling clerks, double-checking seals. By night, she was sure it was locked tight, buried again. She leaned back, exhaling. The Apex lead was huge. Proof Caldwell's machine ran deeper than Lena's bribes. She could use it. Maybe pitch it to a new DOJ contact, sidestep Elena's dead end. Her chest lifted. She dodged a bullet, kept her past clean. She was back in the game. Then her phone lit up, a news alert. Birmingham Post. Federal prosecutor's criminal past exposed. Her breath stopped. The article was venom, detailing her shoplifting spree at 16, twisted to paint her as a lifelong crook. No mention of expungement, just quotes from sources calling her a fraud, unfit for the DOJ. Her mugshot from the riot arrest was plastered next to it, eyes hollow, cuffs glinting. Twitter exploded. Thornton criminal trending, slurs flooding her mentions like sewage. She clicked the link, hands shaking, and saw the source, Apex Consulting, concerned citizens who'd uncovered her file. Caldwell. He hadn't. Just found her past. He'd weaponized it, turned a candy bar into a guillotine. Her inbox pinged. DOJ updating her probe. Suspension pending review, effective immediately. Her badge, her life's work, was slipping away. She called Marcus, voice cracking. "They leaked my juvie record. I'm done." "Not yet," he said, fierce. "We'll fight it." "How?" she snapped. "They've got everything." She hung up numb when her buzzer rang. She crept to the door, expecting another brick. Instead, a crowd was outside, 20, 30 people waving signs, "Thornton's a liar." Flyers littered the street, her mugshot stamped with fraud. "Go." "Back where you came from," a woman screamed, her face twisted with hate. A man threw a beer can, missing her window by inches. Aisha locked the door, heart pounding, as chants grew louder. Neighbors peeked out, some joining, others filming. Sank to the floor, the crowd's roar, a knife in her chest. She'd buried her past, thought she'd outrun Caldwell's reach. Instead, he'd turned her into a pariah, her name a curse. Malik's face flashed. How would he see her now? Keisha's burned home, the riot cuffs, now this. She was drowning, every move sinking her deeper. Across town, Vernon Caldwell sat in a downtown penthouse, a media mogul's lair of glass and steel. The mogul, Greg Vance, poured scotch, grinning. "Nice work on the post piece," he said, toasting. "She's toast," Caldwell nodded, but his smile was tight. The leak was his fixer's masterpiece, Apex digging up Aisha's record like a dog with a bone. The flyers, his idea, printed cheap and spread fast, turning her street into a circus. He'd called Vance yesterday, pitching a TV hit piece to seal the deal, Prosecutor or Predator, was the working title, set to air Sunday. Aisha's City Hall speech was still online, clips circling, but this would bury it, bury her. "She's tough," Caldwell said, sipping. "Tougher than I thought," Vance laughed. "Not after Sunday." "Relax, Vern, you've won." Caldwell stared at the city's glow, unconvinced. Aisha was bleeding, suspension, mob, shame, but she wasn't broken. Those charts she'd flashed, the emails, meant she had more. He'd hit her name, her home, her kid. Now he needed her soul. The TV piece was step one. Step two was bigger, final. He'd make sure she never stood again. Aisha curled on her couch, the crowd's chants fading as dawn broke. Her phone was a brick, notifications off, but the post headline looped in her mind. Criminal. She'd thought she'd saved her past, thought Apex was her weapon. Instead, Caldwell had turned her life into a lie, her fight into a joke. The DOJ suspension was a blade at her throat, the mob a fist on her door. She'd lost her proof, her allies, her ground. But her eyes flicked to Malik's torn photo. His grin a spark. Caldwell wanted her gone. She'd make him choke on it. Drop a comment with #1 if you're sick of Caldwell's lies. How far will this guy sink to win? If you're cheering for Aisha to rise from this mess, smash that like button and subscribe to catch her next stand against this snake. Can Aisha outsmart Caldwell's smear machine, or will his TV hit piece crush her fight for good? Aisha Thornton's apartment was a fortress of shadows, the dawn light creeping through her boarded-up window like a thief. The Birmingham Post headline, "Prosecutor's Criminal Past Exposed," still seared her mind, her teenage shoplifting twisted into a lifelong rap sheet. The DOJ suspension notice burned hotter, her badge dangling by a thread. Outside, the protester mob's flyers littered the street, her mugshot staring back like a wanted poster. Caldwell had turned her name into poison, her life into a target. Her hands gripped Malik's torn photo, his grin her only anchor. She was cornered, bleeding, but Aisha didn't break, she burned. Her burner phone buzzed, Jamal, her tech intern, checking in. "You see the news?" he asked, voice low. "It's bad." "Understatement," she said, pacing the creaky floor. "Apex leaked my record. Caldwell's playing chess and I'm out of pieces." "Not yet," Jamal said. "I've got something. Apex's server, it's sloppy, I can dig deeper." "Do it," she said, heart ticking. "Find me a rope." She hung up, staring at the wreckage of her office. Files shredded, laptops smashed. Years of work gutted by Caldwell's fixer. The City Hall riot, her arrest, Keisha's fire. Each hit was a step closer to checkmate. But she'd seen his fear in that courtroom, his gavel frozen when she flashed her badge. He wasn't a god. He was a man, and men made mistakes. She needed to hit back, loud, where he couldn't spin it. Her eyes landed on her tablet, untouched in the chaos. A live stream. No gatekeepers, no editors. Just her, the truth, and Birmingham. Watching. She called Marcus, her deputy, voice steady despite the storm in her gut. "I need a platform," she said. "News, radio, anything. I'm going live." "You sure?" he asked, skeptical. "After the post? They're calling you radioactive." "Good," she said. "Let 'em watch me glow." Marcus sighed, but came through, linking her with a local news site, Bam Now, small but scrappy, with a streaming setup that reached thousands. Aisha spent the day rebuilding her case, court data backed up on a cloud drive, Lena's hacked emails, Apex's bank, records Jamal had pulled. She added her own story. The fine, the brick, the fire, the mob. It wasn't just about Caldwell anymore, it was about a city letting him thrive. She practiced her pitch in the mirror, words sharp as knives. Malik was safe at Tanya's, Keisha at a motel. This was her stand. At 8 p.m., Palm Now's studio was a shoebox downtown, all cables and coffee stains. The host, a wiry guy named Tariq, gave her a nod. "You're live in 5, he said, adjusting her mic. Aisha smoothed her blazer, heart pounding. The camera's red light blinked, and she leaned in, eyes fierce. "Birmingham, I'm Aisha." "Thornton," she said, voice cutting the air. "You've read the lies, my past, my name, twisted to shut me up, but this isn't about me. It's about Judge Vernon Caldwell, a man who fines black folks 10 times harder, jails us for nothing, and buys his bench with dirty money." She held up her tablet, Apex's records glowing. "His firm, Apex Consulting, funnels bribes through Councilwoman Lena Brooks. They burned my sister's home, framed my son, trashed my life. This is his machine, and I'm calling it out." The chat exploded. Emojis, curses, hearts. "Keep going," someone typed. "We believe you." Aisha's voice rose, steady but raw. "I'm not asking for pity. I'm asking you to see the data, the names, the truth. Demand an audit of Caldwell's court. Sign the petitions online. Don't let him hide." She leaned closer, eyes locked on the lens. "He thinks he owns this city. Prove him wrong." The stream hit 10,000 viewers, then 20. Petitions linked in the chat surged, 500 signatures, then 1,000. Tariq grinned from the sidelines, whispering, "You're viral." Aisha's chest swelled. The mob's chants, the Post's lies, the DOJ's noose, they faded. Birmingham was listening, rising, her truth a spark catching fire. She'd done it. She'd flipped the script. Then the screen flickered. A text popped up on her tablet. "Unknown number. Check." The news. Her stomach dropped. She nodded to Tariq, who pulled up a browser midstream. A breaking alert from Channel 12. Prosecutor caught in bribery scandal. Aisha's face filled the page, a grainy still from a fake security cam, her hand taking an envelope from a shadowed figure. The headline screamed, "Thornton's corruption exposed." The article claimed she'd pocketed cash to drop cases, quoting apex whistleblowers. Her DOJ suspension was proof, it said, of her guilt. The chat froze, then erupted. "What? She's dirty!" Aisha's voice caught, but she pushed through. "This is a lie," she said, hands shaking. "Caldwell's behind it. Don't fall for it." But the damage was done. Viewers dropped. 20,000 to 10, then 5. Tariq cut the stream, face grim. "We're getting heat," he said. "Gotta pull it." Aisha ripped off the mic, storming outside. Her phone buzzed. Marcus panicked. "Your bank accounts are frozen. IRS saying tax fraud. They're hitting you everywhere." She checked her app, heart sinking. Zero balance, red flags screaming hold. Her savings, her mortgage, gone. She called Keisha, voice breaking. "You... okay." "No," Keisha said, sobbing. "My job. They fired me. Said budget cuts, but it's him, Aisha. It's your judge." Aisha's knees buckled. Keisha's diner gig, her lifeline after the fire, slashed by Caldwell's cronies. The hit piece, the freeze, now this. It was a blitz, surgical and cruel. She'd thought the stream would break him, thought the petitions meant Birmingham was hers. Instead, he'd turned her truth into a crime, her fight into a trap. Across town, Vernon Caldwell toasted at a gala, chandeliers glittering above Birmingham's elite. His tux was sharp, his smile sharper, but his eyes were steel. The Channel. 12-piece was Greg Vance's gift, rushed to air when Aisha's stream went live. The fake tape? Apex's tech, seamless as silk. The IRS hit was a favor from a taxman who'd golfed at his estate. Keisha's job? A call to a diner owner who owed him rent. He swirled his champagne, savoring the burn. Aisha's speech had stung. Those petitions a thorn, but this was checkmate. He leaned into Vance, voice low. "She's done now, right?" Vance grinned. "Dead in the water. Sunday's show will bury her." Caldwell nodded, but his gut twisted. Aisha's stream was cut, but clips were online, petitions still growing. She was a cockroach, surviving every boot. The gala's glow felt hollow. He needed her gone, not just shamed, but erased. He stepped outside, dialing his fixer. "Hit her harder," he said. "Find her kid, her weak spot. End it." The fixer grunted. "Big ask, boss." "Do it," Caldwell snapped, hanging up. He stared at the city, his city, its lights a crown he'd kill to keep. Aisha thought she could rally the rabble, thought her voice mattered. She'd learn. He'd take her money, her family, her heir. By Sunday, she'd be a memory. Aisha sat in her car outside the studio, the city's hum a cruel joke. Her accounts were ice, Keisha was jobless, and the Channel 12 lie was spreading like wildfire. Her live stream's cheers rang hollow, the petitions a flicker in Caldwell's storm. She'd thought she'd struck back, thought Birmingham's roar meant victory. Instead, he'd gutted her life, her cash, her sister, her name. Her fists clenched, nails biting her palms. He wanted her broken. She'd make him bleed for it. Aisha Thornton's car was a cocoon of silence, parked in a Birmingham alley where the city's pulse barely reached. The Channel 12 hit piece, her face taking a fake bribe, played on loop in her mind, torching what was left of her name. Her bank accounts were frozen. Keisha's job was ash, and the DOJ suspension was a guillotine 2 days from falling. Caldwell's gala toast, his smug certainty, haunted her. Her live stream's petitions were a flicker, drowned by lies. She gripped the wheel, Malik's grin in her wallet, her only light. She was broken, hunted, but Aisha didn't quit. She ignited, her burner phone buzzed. Jamal, her tech intern, voice tight. "Apex's servers are maze, but I'm close. They're hiding something big." "Keep digging," Aisha said, voice raw. "I need a miracle." She hung up, the alley's shadows pressing in. Her apartment was a wreck, her office a trap. Caldwell's machine, Apex, Lena, Vance, was a hydra, every blow sprouting new heads. The hit piece wasn't just a smear, it was a death sentence. Turning Birmingham against her, she needed an edge, someone outside his reach. Her mind snagged on a name, Clara Hayes, a disgraced ex-judge who'd clashed with Caldwell a decade ago. Clara had called him poison in a blog before vanishing from public life. If anyone had dirt, it was her. Aisha drove to a rundown suburb, Clara's address a tip from Marcus. The house was a sagging ranch, paint peeling, lawn wild. She knocked, heart ticking, half expecting a ghost. Clara answered, 60, grey braid swinging, eyes sharp as glass. "Thornton," she said, no surprise. "Saw your stream, you're screwing with Vern." "Trying," Aisha said, stepping inside. The living room was a time capsule. Books, old case files, no TV. "He's winning," Clara snorted, pouring tea that smelled like regret. "He always does, till he doesn't." She studied Aisha, then sighed. "You're not here for tea." "I need something to bury him," Aisha said, leaning in. "You know his game." Clara's eyes darkened. "Knew it too well. Cost me my robe." She stood, pulling a box from a closet, dust swirling. Inside was a ledger, leather-bound, pages yellowed. "Found this after my last case with him. Bribes, dates, names, Vern's payoffs to rig rulings. Apex wasn't around then, but his hands were dirty." Aisha's pulse surged as she flipped through. Entries from 10 years back, cash to clerks, favors to cops, all in Caldwell's scrawl. One name popped, Greg Vance, the mogul, tied to a dropped fraud case. "This is gold," she said, voice shaking. "Why didn't you use it?" "Scared," Clara admitted, eyes distant. "He had friends, I didn't." Aisha clutched the ledger, hope sparking. This wasn't hacked emails or stolen files. It was clean, admissible, a blade to Caldwell's throat. She thanked Clara, promising to keep her name out, and drove to her motel hideout, Malik and Keisha safe miles away. The state bar was her next move. Ethics board, not DOJ. They'd eat this up. She scanned the ledger, emailed copies to Marcus, with a note, "Get this to the bar now." Then she couriered the original to their Montgomery office overnight, no trace to her. By morning, her phone pinged. Marcus, buzzing. "Bar's got it. They're calling an emergency session. Vern's..." "Cooked?" Aisha exhaled, the motel's stale air sweet for once. The ledger was her ace, tying Caldwell to Vance, to bribes, to a decade of rot. Her suspension loomed, the hit piece stung, but this felt like checkmate. She pictured Caldwell's face when the bar called him in, his drawl cracking under oath. She'd dodged his mob, his lies, his fire. Now she'd strike his heart. She closed her eyes, daring to believe it. She'd won. Then her tablet chimed, a news alert. Montgomery ledger deemed forgery. Ethics probe dropped. Her breath stopped. The article quoted the bar. "Document lacks verifiable origin. Suspected fabrication." Aisha's hands shook as she read. On a source claimed she'd planted it to dodge her DOJ probe. Her name again was Mud. She called Marcus, voice breaking. "What happened?" "They tanked it," he said, grim. "Bars in his pocket, someone tipped them." She hung up numb when her burner buzzed. Jamal panicked. "Check channel 12. She pulled up the site, heart sinking. Ex-judge found dead in suspected suicide. Clara Hayes, photo old but unmistakable, found in her home. Pills scattered, note blaming stress. A sidebar mentioned Aisha's visit, caught on a neighbor's. Cam now under investigation for harassment. The article hinted she'd pushed Clara over the edge, her forged ledger the final straw. Aisha's knees buckled. Clara dead, the ledger fake, her visit a trap. She called the motel front desk, voice shaking. "Any cops around?" "Two just pulled up," the clerk said, bored. She grabbed her bag, slipping out the back as sirens wailed. Her tablet pinged. "DOJ. Update? Criminal inquiry opened. Thornton named suspect in Hayes' death." Her face was everywhere, TV, Twitter, wanted posters in her mind. She ditched the burner, her chest tight. Clara's sharp eyes flashed, her voice, "He always wins," a ghost in her skull. She'd thought the ledger was her sword, thought the bar would gut Caldwell. Instead, he'd turned her ally into a corpse, her truth into a noose. Across town, Vernon Caldwell stood in his mansion's library, fire crackling as he tossed a ledger, Clara's twin, into the flames. The leather curled, pages ash, his smile cold. Greg Vance lounged nearby, sipping cognac. "Neat trick," Vance said. "Pills note." She went quiet. "Had to," Caldwell said, eyes glinting. "Thornton's slippery. That ledger was trouble. He'd known about Clara's box for years, a loose end he'd left buried. When Aisha's stream hit, he'd had his fixer tail her, spotting her at Clara's. The suicide was quick, pills forced, note typed, cam staged to catch Aisha's car. The bar's dismissal? A call to a friendly chair, Apex's cash greasing. The wheels. Aisha's name on a murder rap was the bow, tied tight by Channel 12's spin. Vance raised his glass. "She's done now." Caldwell nodded, but his jaw twitched. Aisha was a fugitive, her ledger dust, her ally gone. But those petitions still lingered, her streams clips circling like flies. She'd run, but she'd fight. He poured another. Drink, plotting. Her kid was out there, her spirit unbroken. He'd find her, crush her for good. Birmingham was his, and she'd learn it the hard way. Aisha crouched in an alley, hood up, the city's hum a threat. Cop lights flashed nearby, her face on every screen. Clara's death wasn't suicide. She'd seen her fire, her truth. Caldwell had killed her, framed Aisha, burned her last hope. The ledger was supposed to save her, end him. Instead, she was a suspect, a ghost, her life erased. Her hands shook, Malik's grin her only spark. Caldwell wanted her dead. She'd make him regret it. Drop a comment with number 1 if you're gutted by Clara's death. Did Caldwell cross a line no one can forgive? If you're rooting for Aisha to dodge this murder rap, hit that like button and subscribe to see her fight back against this killer. Will Aisha outrun Caldwell's frame-up, or has his deadliest strike already sealed her fate? Aisha Thornton crouched in a Birmingham alley, the city's pulse a predator closing in. Cop sirens wailed, their red-blue lights slicing the dark like knives. Her face was everywhere. TV screens, news sites, screaming murder suspect over Clara. Hayes's staged death. The ledger, her last hope, was dust, dismissed as a fake by Caldwell's bought-off bar. Her DOJ badge was a memory, her accounts frozen, Keisha jobless, Malik branded a thug. She was a ghost, hunted, her name poison. But Aisha's heart still beat, Malik's grin in her wallet a spark. Caldwell wanted her dead. She'd live to spite him. She pulled her hood tighter, breath shallow, slipping through back streets to a dive bar nobody checked. Her burner phone was gone, ditched to dodge trackers, but Jamal's last text burned in her mind. Apex's server, big fish. If she could crack it, find Caldwell's core, she might still fight. Alone she was a target, but she wasn't alone, not yet. Marcus had slipped her a name before she ran. Tariq, the Balm Now host who'd aired her stream. He ran with activists, a crew off the grid, who'd hate Caldwell as much as she did. She found the bar, neon flickering, air thick with smoke and regret. Tariq was in the back, sipping a beer, his wiry frame tense when he saw her. "You're hot," he said, no greeting. "Cops are sniffing." "I need help," Aisha said, sliding into the booth. "Your people. Can they hide me?" He studied, her eyes sharp. "Maybe. What's in it for us?" "Caldwell," she said, voice low. "I've got a lead on his machine, Apex. Help me dig, and he's done." Tariq leaned back, weighing her. "You're a risk. Clara's dead, and you're the face on the news." "I didn't kill her," she snapped, fists clenched. "He did." He nodded, slow. "All right, but you follow our rules." By midnight, she was in a safe house, a basement in West End, all concrete and flickering bulbs. Tariq's crew was small, fierce. Nia, a hacker with dreads and a grudge. Rico, a former cop turned whistleblower. And Sam, a quiet kid who'd lost, a brother to Caldwell's jail. They circled her, wary but listening. Aisha laid it out, her find, the fire, Clara's ledger, the murder rap. "Apex is his spine," she said, pointing to Nia's laptop. "Crack it and we've got him." Nia cracked her knuckles, diving in. Aisha watched, heart ticking as code scrolled. Hours bled, coffee, curses, dead ends. Then Nia froze. "Got it," she said, voice tight. "Emails Apex to Caldwell. He's tied to a group, Iron Cross." Aisha's blood chilled. Iron Cross wasn't just a name, it was a hate crew, old school, cloaked in heritage, but pure venom. Emails glowed on screen. Caldwell green-lighting their rallies, funneling cash through Apex, even tipping them on troublemakers. One name stood out: Thornton Aisha. Neutralize her, he'd written, dated the day of Keisha's fire. This is it, Aisha said, voice shaking. We leak this. He's done. Rico frowned. Leak to who? Channel 12's his. Post 2. National. Aisha said, Times Post, someone clean, I've got a contact. She meant Priya Shah, the Pulse reporter who'd run her Lena scoop. Priya was in Atlanta now, freelancing for bigger fish. Aisha drafted the leak on Nia's burner laptop, emails, screenshots, a note. Caldwell's hate ties, exposed. She sent, it heart-pounding. The safe house felt alive, the crew buzzing. Sam grinned, first time all night. He's toast, he said. Aisha nodded, hope flickering. The emails were dynamite, hard proof, no hacks, no fakes. Priya would run it, and Caldwell's Iron Cross link would burn him down. Her murder rap, the hit piece, the mob, they'd fade when the world saw his truth. She leaned back, exhausted but electric. She'd found a family here, fighters like her. They'd done it. She'd won. Then glass shattered upstairs. A canister crashed through the basement window, hissing smoke. Tear gas choked the air, eyes burning, lungs seizing. Raid! Rico yelled, grabbing Sam. Nia yanked her laptop, but boots thumped above, cops, SWAT gear, shouting, freeze! Aisha coughed, diving for the back door, Nia at her heels. Rico and she... Sam weren't fast enough. Cuffs snapped, shouts fading as Aisha stumbled into the night. She ran, legs burning, Nia panting beside her. Cop lights flashed, radios crackling. They ducked into a storm drain, knee-deep in muck, hearts pounding. Nia clutched the laptop, gasping. They knew, she said, voice raw. Someone tipped. Them! Aisha's mind raced. Caldwell. He'd tracked her somehow. Her burner, Priya's email, a mole. She checked Nia's laptop. Priya's reply was there, but the cloud drive was wiped, emails gone. No, Aisha whispered, fists shaking. The leak, her proof, erased in seconds. They hid till dawn. The drains stink, their only shield. Nia's phone pinged. A text from Rico's burner smuggled in lockup. We're okay, stay low. Aisha's chest ached. Her crew, her family, caged because of her. She'd thought the emails were her kill shot, thought Priya's scoop would end Caldwell. Instead, he'd sniffed her out, crushed her allies, stolen her truth again. Across town, Vernon Caldwell sat in his study, dawn painting his mansion gold. His desk held a single photo, him with Iron Cross's leader, both smiling, rifles raised at a private range. He'd burned it after the raid, no trace left. The safe house hit was his fixer's call, tipped by a hack on Priya's email. SWAT. Owed him favors, the chief a loyal dog. Rico and Sam were small fry, collateral. Aisha was the prize, but she'd slipped. Again. He poured coffee, hands steady, but mind racing. The Iron Cross emails were trouble, closer than Clara's ledger. He'd wiped the server, but Aisha's crew knew too much. He dialed the fixer, voice cold. She's still out there. Plan the final lesson. Kill? The fixer asked, blunt. Not yet, Caldwell said. Break her first. He hung up, staring at the city's glow. His gala was tomorrow. Re-election sealed. Birmingham his throne. Aisha's stream, her petitions, lingered like smoke, but the raid had choked them. She was a rat now, scurrying, alone. He'd find her kid, her last spark, and snuff it. She'd learn defiance was death. Aisha leaned against the drain's slimy wall, Nia shivering beside her. Cop lights faded, but her crew was gone, her emails dust. The safe house was supposed to be her stand, the leak her victory. Instead, Caldwell had struck first, his reach a vice around her throat. Malik's face flashed. Safe for now, but not forever. Her lungs burned, not from gas but rage. Caldwell wanted her erased. She'd make him choke on her name. Aisha Thornton's boots squelched in the storm drain's muck, her breath fogging in Birmingham's dawn chill. Nia shivered beside her, clutching a cracked laptop, the only survivor of the SWAT raid that stole their crew. Rico and Sam were cuffed, the Iron Cross emails, proof of Caldwell's hate ties wiped from the cloud. Aisha's face was a wanted poster, branded a murderer for Clara's staged death, her DOJ badge dust, her family bleeding. The safe house was ash, her allies gone, but Malik's grin in her wallet burned bright. Caldwell wanted her erased. She'd carve her name into his bones. Nia coughed, eyes red from tear gas. "What now?" she asked, voice raw. "We're screwed." "Not yet," Aisha said, scanning the drained shadows. "He's cocky. That's his weakness." She'd seen it in his courtroom, his gala smirk on TV. Caldwell thought he'd... One thought her a rat in a trap. His re-election gala was tonight, Birmingham's elite toasting his throne at the Grand Hotel. It was a fortress, but cracks showed when he gloated. She'd hit him there, public, raw, where his lies couldn't hide. The emails were gone, but she'd memorized them. Dates, names, Iron Cross cash. If she could broadcast that, he'd choke. They climbed out, dawn's grey masking their steps. Nia's laptop had one file left, a USB Aisha had pocketed, a partial backup of Apex's server. It held fragments, Caldwell's signature, Iron Cross meetups, a rally he'd bankrolled. Not enough for court, but enough for chaos. Aisha's mind raced. She needed a stream like Bum Now, but bigger, untraceable. Nia knew a guy, a streamer called Ghost, who ran pirate broadcasts from a van. "He's crazy," Nia said, "but he hates cops." "Perfect," Aisha said, pulling her hood up. They trekked to a junkyard, Ghost's hideout, dodging cop patrols. He was a skinny kid, barely 20, with a rig of screens and routers crammed in a beat-up van. "Heard you're hot," he said, grinning. "What's the job?" "Crash Caldwell's gala," Aisha said, handing him the USB. "Stream this, live everywhere." Ghost scanned the files, whistling. "This'll burn the city down." "I'm in." They planned fast. Ghost's van would park near the hotel, piggybacking its Wi-Fi to blast the stream. Aisha would slip inside, find a mic, and spill Caldwell's truth mid-toast. Nia hacked a staff badge for her, lifting it from the hotel's system. By dusk, Aisha was dressed. Black dress, stolen badge, hair tucked under a wig. Her heart pounded, but her eyes were steel. Malik was safe, Keisha hidden. This was her shot. The Grand Hotel glittered, chandeliers casting gold over suits and gowns. Aisha moved through the crowd, badge flashing, blending with waitstaff. Caldwell was center stage, Tuck's crisp, drawl charming as he toasted, "Justice." Her stomach twisted. He was a snake in silk, Birmingham eating his lies. She spotted Lena, head low, and Vance, the mogul, smirking nearby. The air was thick with power, but Aisha felt it shift when she reached the sound booth. Ghost texted, "Ready." She nodded to Nia, hidden in the crowd, who slipped her a mic. Aisha took a breath, then cut the gala's feed, her voice booming. "Birmingham, this is Aisha Thornton." Gasps rippled, heads turning. Caldwell froze, glass mid-air. "Vernon Caldwell funds Iron Cross, a hate group," she said. "USB data. Flashing on every screen via Ghost's hack. He bankrolled their rallies, targeted me, burned my family's home. Here's the proof. Dates, cash, his name." The crowd roared, some cheering, others shouting slurs. Phones lit up, streaming live. Ghost's signal hit Twitter, TikTok, everywhere. Caldwell Exposed trended in seconds, 10,000 viewers, then 50. Aisha's voice soared. "He framed me for murder, jailed my allies. This is his machine. And you're feeding it." Caldwell's face twisted, eyes darting to security. She felt it, truth, power, Birmingham hers. Then boots thumped. Security lunged, tackling her to the floor, mic skidding. The crowd screamed, some rushing the stage, others fleeing. Caldwell grabbed a mic, voice shaking but loud. "She's a stalker," he bellowed, waving a paper. "I've got a restraining order, forged last week, but she's obsessed." The screens flickered. Ghost stream cut, a glitch or worse. Aisha struggled, pinned, as cops stormed in, cuffs ready. They dragged her to a back room, Caldwell following, his mask slipping. "You're done," he hissed, waving the order. Fake but clean, dated days ago. Her badge was gone. Her name mud. Now this. The crowd's cheers faded, replaced by his narrative. She spat. "You're scared," but he laughed, slamming the door. She was cuffed, alone, a holding cell's cold walls her new world. Outside, Ghost's van was dark, hacked, his signal dead. Nia slipped away, laptop gone, texting Aisha's burner in vain. Caldwell stood in his suite, USB in hand, tossing it to his fixer. "Burn it," he said, voice ice. The paper was his. Ace forged by Apex, but Birmingham bought it. Aisha's stream was a spark, but he'd doused it. He dialed his hitman, eyes glinting. "She's locked up. End it tonight." The hitman grunted. "Cell's tricky." "Make it work," Caldwell snapped, hanging up. He poured bourbon, hands steady. Aisha's gala crash was bold, her iron cross jab a blade, but she was caged now, her voice cut. The stream's clips lingered online, but his order buried them. Birmingham was his, always would be. He'd kill her spark, her kid next, her fight forever. Aisha sat in the cell, wrists raw, the gala's roar a cruel echo. Her burner buzzed once. Malik from Tanya's texting, "Saw you online, Mum, I'm coming." Her heart stopped. He was safe, miles away. But he'd watched her stream, his voice fierce. She typed back, "Stay put." But the guard snatched her phone, smirking. She leaned against the wall, Malik's words her pulse. She'd thought the gala was her win, thought her truth would burn Caldwell down. Instead, he'd locked her away, his hitman coming. Across town, Malik slipped out of Tanya's, hoodie up, eyes on his phone. The stream's clips were everywhere, his mum, fearless, calling out a king. He'd seen her fine, her fight, her fire. Now she was caged and he wasn't waiting. He texted Nia, coordinates from Aisha's last call. "We're getting her," he said, voice steel. "A kid no more." Aisha's cell was ice, her breath fogging. The guard's keys jangled, a shadow moving closer. Caldwell's order, his lie, had stolen her moment, her freedom. Her truth had sparked, but his machine crushed it. Malik's text burned, her boy, her why. She stood, fists clenched, eyes glinting. Caldwell wanted her dead. She'd fight for her son. Aisha Thornton's cell was a concrete cage, the air thick with mildew and menace. Her wrists ached from cuffs, her dress torn from the gala's tackle, but her eyes burned fierce. Caldwell's forged restraining order had locked her here, his. Tlycassid calling her a stalker, drowning her live stream's truth about his Iron Cross ties. Birmingham's cheers were a fading echo, her USB-proof ash in his hands. Malik's text, "I'm coming," was a pulse in her skull, her boy out there, reckless with love. A guard's boots echoed closer. Maybe the hitman Caldwell had called. She stood, fists tight, ready to fight for her son. The guard paused, keys jangling, but no blade came. Aisha's breath caught. Malik couldn't be here, not yet. She told him to stay put, safe at Tanya's, but his fire matched hers. Her. Gala Stunt had lit him up, her voice blasting Caldwell's hate to millions. Now she was trapped, the city his, her crew, Rico, Sam, Naya, scattered or caged. Clara's staged death, Keisha's fire, her frozen accounts. They were bricks in Caldwell's wall, crushing her. But Aisha wasn't done. She'd claw through hell to hold Malik again. Outside, Malik moved through Birmingham's shadows. Hoodie, up, heart pounding, 15 lanky but no kid tonight. He'd seen his mom's stream, her calling Caldwell a monster, Iron Cross cash in his hands. Then the news hit. Her arrest, a stalker lie. He'd slipped from Tanya's texting, Nia, who'd dodged the raid. She met him in a diner lot, her laptop dead, eyes haunted. "Your mum's locked up," Nia said, voice low. "Cops are Caldwell's." "Then we break her out," Malik said, jaw set. "You in?" Nia hesitated, then nodded. For her. They rallied fast, calling Rico's sister, a nurse who knew lockup guards. She'd heard whispers. Activists pissed from Aisha's stream were circling the jail, planning a protest. Malik and Nia tapped them, a dozen strong. Kids, mums, ex-cons, all fed up with Caldwell's reign. They swiped a guard's keycard, lifted from a bar where he drank. Malik's hands shook, but his mum's voice echoed, "Don't let him hide." By midnight, they were outside the jail, signs waving, chants rising, masking their move. Inside, Aisha paced, the guard gone but danger. Close. Their clang echoed. A door forced open. Malik burst in, keycard flashing near at his back. "Mum," he hissed, unlocking her cell. Her heart leapt, but fear choked it. Her boy, here, in Caldwell's crosshairs. "You shouldn't be here," she said, hugging him tight, his warmth her lifeline. "Couldn't leave you," he said, eyes fierce. "Let's go." They ran, Nia leading, through service tunnels slick with grime. The protest outside roared, tires screeching, keeping cops busy. Aisha's chest burned. Malik's courage, Nia's grit, the crowd's fire. She'd thought the gala was her peak, thought her truth had shifted Birmingham. Now her son had freed her, her allies rising from ash. They hit the street, ducking into an old warehouse, a safe spot Nia knew. Aisha grabbed Malik's shoulders, checking him. "You okay?" "Yeah," he said, grinning. "We got you." She exhaled, hope sparking. The warehouse was bare, crates, cobwebs, a cracked skylight, but it was freedom. Nia pulled a burner phone, texting the crew. "She's out." Aisha's mind raced. The gala's stream was still online, clips spreading despite Caldwell's hack. She could rebuild, rally the protests, hit him again. Her fingers brushed the USB in her pocket. Ghost's backup, missed in the raid, holding one Iron Cross email. Thin, but enough. She was free, her boy safe. She'd won. Then a shot cracked the night. Malik grunted, collapsing, blood blooming on his shoulder. Aisha screamed, catching him as a shadow moved. Caldwell's hitman, silencer glinting, stepping from the dark. "Stay down," he growled, aiming at her. Nia dove behind a crate, phone skidding. Aisha dragged Malik to cover, her hands slick with his blood, her heart a drum. "Hold on," she whispered, tearing her sleeve to bind his wound. The hitman fired again, bullets chewing wood, but Aisha rolled, grabbing a pipe. She swung, cracking his knee, buying seconds. He cursed, limping as tires screeched outside. More shadows poured in. Iron Cross masked, slurs spitting like venom. "Got the rat," one yelled, torching crates with a Molotov, flames leaping. The warehouse roared, smoke choking, heat biting. Aisha hauled Malik, coughing, Nia crawling beside her. "Back exit," Nia gasped, pointing. They stumbled, fire licking their heels, the gang's boots close. Aisha's burner buzzed, useless now, but instinct hit. She pulled the USB, jammed it into Nia's phone, and hit record. "Caldwell's." "Iron Cross," she rasped, voice raw, filming the masks, their slurs, the blaze. "This is his truth." Nia uploaded it, lived to Ghost's pirate stream, patched from the van. The feed hit, 10,000 viewers, then 1 million, yet as Caldwell exposed, spiking again. "Keep running," Aisha yelled, shoving Nia toward the exit. She carried Malik, his. Pulse weak, her arms screaming. They burst into an alley, flames behind, but cop lights flashed ahead. More of Caldwell's dogs. Across town, Vernon Caldwell paced his estate, bourbon untouched, TV blaring the gala fallout. Aisha's stream had stung, her Iron Cross jab a blade, but his order had caged her. The hitman's call was late, too late. His phone rang, the fixer, voice tight. "She's out, kid broke her free." Caldwell's fist hit the desk. "Find her." "Working on it," the fixer said. "Iron Cross is moving." He hung up, dialing a governor's private line. "Shut it down," he snapped. "Her stream's back online, warehouse live. Kill it." The governor hesitated. "Vern, that's hot. People are watching." "Do it," Caldwell roared, slamming. The phone. He turned to the TV, freezing as Aisha's feed popped up. Masks, slurs, fire, her voice naming him. Millions watched, trending worldwide. His jaw twitched, hands shaking. She was a cockroach, surviving every boot. The hitman was her end, her kid's blood his message. Birmingham was his, but her spark wouldn't die. Aisha stumbled through the alley, Malik heavy in her arms, Nia limping beside her. Cop lights closed, in Iron Cross's fire at their backs. Her stream was live, the world watching, but Malik's blood soaked her hands. She'd thought breaking out was freedom, thought her truth would reignite Birmingham. Instead, Caldwell's hitman had struck, his gang torching her last stand. Her son's pulse flickered, her hope fraying. She clutched him, eyes blazing. Caldwell wanted her dead. She'd burn his world to save her boy. Aisha Thornton's arms burned, Malik's weight heavy as she staggered through Birmingham's alleys, his blood soaking her dress. Nia limped beside her, coughing smoke, the warehouse's flames a roar behind them. Iron Cross's slurs echoed. Rat, filth, their Molotovs turning her safe house to ash. Cop lights flashed, Caldwell's dogs closing in, but her burner phone glowed. Her stream, uploaded mid-chaos, was alive, millions watching masked thugs scream her name. Malik's pulse fluttered, his eyes half open. She'd thought breaking. Out was her win, thought her truth would topple Caldwell. Now her son was bleeding, her fight a flicker in a storm. They ducked into a boarded-up shop, Nia barring the door with a plank. Aisha laid Malik down, tearing her scarf to tighten his bandage, her hands steady despite the panic clawing her chest. "Stay with me," she whispered, his shallow breaths her only reply. Nia's phone pinged. Ghost, their streamer, texting. Streams at 10 million. Protests downtown. Aisha's heart surged. Her footage, Iron Cross's hate, Caldwell's name, was a wildfire, Birmingham's streets alive with chants. She'd struck his heart, exposed his rot. He was falling. Sirens. Faded. The alley quiet, but Aisha's hope was a fragile thing. Malik needed a hospital, not a hideout, but cops would cage her. Murder rap, stalker lie, all Caldwell's traps. Her USB was gone, her crew scattered, Clara's ledger ash. Yet the stream lived, her voice a blade cutting through his empire. She kissed Malik's forehead, vowing to save him when Nia gasped, pointing to the phone. News alert. Judge Caldwell arrested. Iron Cross ties confirmed. Aisha's breath caught. Footage flashed. Cops cuffing Caldwell outside his estate, his tux rumpled, face pale as protesters screamed, "Justice!" The stream had done it. Her truth, Iron Cross's slurs, had forced the governor's hand, DOJ stepping in. Lena's name was trending, her bribes exposed, Vance's empire cracking. Aisha clutched Malik, tears burning. Her fine Keisha's fire, Clara's death, she'd fought for this. Birmingham was hers, Caldwell's throne dust. She'd won. Then Nia's phone flickered, a new alert. Prosecutor Thornton declared terrorist. Manhunt intensified. Aisha's blood froze. The screen showed her face labeled armed and dangerous, tied to inciting riots. A name flashed. Senator Harlan Tate, Caldwell's silent partner, now Birmingham's new judge, gavel in hand. Tate's voice droned on TV, calm, lethal. "Thornton's chaos threatens our city. She'll be stopped." Aisha's stomach twisted. Tate wasn't just a replacement. He was the machine, deeper, colder, pulling strings Caldwell never touched. Her win was a trap. Caldwell's cuffs were theater, a scapegoat to calm the mob while Tate rose, framing her as a monster. The stream's fire had lit protests, but Tate spun it, her truth now proof of terrorism. Malik groaned, stirring, and Aisha's heart broke. She'd thought justice was hers, thought Caldwell's fall meant freedom. Instead, Tate had stolen her victory, turned her fight into a bounty. Cop boots thumped nearby, radios crackling. Nia grabbed her arm. "We gotta move." Aisha nodded, lifting Malik, his weight a vow. They slipped through a back door, city lights a maze of danger. Nia texted Ghost, "Get us out." A van screeched up, Ghost at the wheel, eyes wide. "You're a legend," he said, but Aisha shook her head. Malik's blood, her only truth. They sped north, Birmingham shrinking, as Aisha bandaged him in the back. His pulse stronger. A hospital was hours away, safe if they dodged Tate's net. She pulled Nia's phone, going live one last time, voice a whisper. "I'm Aisha Thornton. Caldwell's down, but Tate's his shadow, the real machine. I'm not done." She cut the feed, millions watching, her words a seed. Tate's gavel ruled now, her terrorist label a chain. But Malik breathed, her crew alive somewhere. She'd go underground, build a network. Ghost Nia, protesters' voices Caldwell never broke. Across town, Senator Tate sat in Caldwell's old office, gavel gleaming, city quiet under his gaze. Caldwell was a pawn, his arrest a show to bury. Aisha's truth. Tate's machine, Banks' cops hate, was iron untouchable. He smiled, scrolling her stream's clips, her face a ghost he'd hunt. Birmingham was his, her spark a nuisance. He'd crush her kid, her fight. Aisha leaned against the van's wall, Malik's hand in hers, city lights fading. Tate's shadow loomed, her name cursed, but her stream lived, a million eyes awake. She'd thought Caldwell's fall was justice, thought her truth would free her. Instead, a bigger foe rose, her fight reborn. She whispered to Malik, asleep. This isn't over. Underground she'd grow, a storm Tate couldn't stop. Her war was just beginning. Aisha Thornton's battle in White Judge finds black woman, freezes when he learns she's a federal prosecutor, lays bare the grinding toll of systemic racism and the fire it takes to fight it. Her story isn't just a clash with a racist judge, it's a mirror to a world where truth bends under power. Aisha's fine for nothing, her son's framed suspension, her sister's torched home, and her murder rap for a staged death show. How racism isn't one punch, it's a machine, relentless, layered, striking family, name and hope. Yet, her refusal to break teaches us resilience isn't loud. It's stubborn, rooted in love for those you protect. Malik's courage, risking all to free her, reminds us the young can carry a fight older than them, their hearts fierce with purpose. Clara's ledger, burned to silence truth, warns that evidence alone can't win. Systems guard their own, twisting facts to lies. Caldwell's fall, only to birth Tate's shadow, screams that racism doesn't die with one villain. It shapeshifts, demanding we stay vigilant. Aisha's underground vow, her whisper of "this isn't over," is our call. Justice isn't her win. It's a war fought daily, quietly, fiercely. We learn to stand even when the gavel falls, because giving up lets the machine roll on. Her spark, kindled in millions, shows one voice can ripple, waking a city even if it costs everything. What's the toughest fight you've seen against injustice? Drop a comment, hit like, and subscribe to join this conversation, then share. To spread Aisha's fire. Thank you for standing with truth. Here's to courage that never quits.